It's on you.
What's going on, everyone? This is Jgeorge, Pro Wrestling's premier cinematic genius, and you're listening or you're watching.
And listening.
You're watching and listening. I'm gonna do that again. What's going on, everyone? This is. I'm doing one more take. What's going on, everyone? This is Pro Wrestling's premier cinematic genius, Jgeorge, and you're watching and listening to the infinite eight, endless. One more.
No.
You could use all of it, honestly. I don't care. What's going on, everyone? It's your one more time. What's going on, everyone? One more. What's going on, everyone? Just like one more, and I got it. What's going on, everyone? This is Pro Wrestling's premier cinematic genius, Jgeorge, and you're watching and listening to the Three Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me.
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Ancient Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, with this being season 5 and our 500, or, our 380, 390 something episode, I would just hope you say with me, I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this person at T2T. You can find him at VPW, Blitzkrieg Pop. You can find him at Beyond Wrestling Open, WFA Cap. You can find him at Rad Pro. He is the unpredictable. He is the Thunderheart. He is the guide on your cinematic journey. He is Jgeorge.
Boom! We are here live and in living color and in the flesh, and I'm so excited and ecstatic to be on the show tonight.
No, so it's funny because like I met you at the Wrestling Open last year, and you had been working with Max Caster. But just getting to sit back and chat it up with you a little bit, I was like, yo, I'm super excited. I get to meet this person and just like have a fun conversation. And I kept thinking to myself, I was like, I'm gonna bring him on. But every time I like went to hit the send button, I got kind of freaked out. I don't know why. And then I finally was just like, yeah. No. And then finally was just like, clip. So we hit the send button and just hope everything works out.
I was waiting. I'm always waiting for people to hit me up to do their podcasts. I love doing them. They're so much fun.
Yeah, no, I love being a part of like people. I like having people on that like have like a great energy about them. And that's why I was like, I got to reach out and bring them on. And then I saw recently that you had done a short little film with Erica Lee, and I was like, oh, that's the homie. So yeah, definitely got to make this happen.
Yeah, I would never say this to her face, but Erica Lee's she's a good sport, and she's someone I'm happy to call my friend.
Yeah, a great person, and I definitely have a joy every time I get to see her, and we get to be around each other on the shows and stuff like that. So it definitely works out. So I guess my first question that I just want to ask, right, is who is Jgeorge?
Nobody. No, man, I'm just a kid from Jersey, a kid from New York, and a man with a vision, and someone that is grateful to walk this earth every day, and I get to venture into different cinematic adventures in life. I think now more than ever, this world we live in really is playing out like some sort of twisted morality play, and I am but just another vessel here in the soul. I'm going to do that one more time. But I am but just another vessel here on the earth. No, one more time, sorry. But I am just another vessel here wandering the earth amongst all the other souls that inhabit it. There you go.
I like that. No, it's funny though, because when you think about like when you watch film and then you watch what's going on in real life, you can't help but think like, am I really in a movie right now? Like, is at some point in time, like, is someone gonna come out from behind, like, somewhere and just be like, "Yo, we gotta do this again." Just go back there and just
If only, right? If there's
yeah,
only times like that in our lives, but it's just like pro wrestling where there is no multiple takes. It's just one go,
yeah.
one go.
I just
You
I
just
just
go
want
out
someone to
and
come
do
out the
it.
back. Yeah, I want someone
That's
to come out of, like, my bush and just be like, "Hey, listen, I really liked your reaction. It was really good. It just didn't feel like enough genuality to me. So I just want you to open that door and come out with just not as much energy.
yeah. Tone it down just a little bit. Don't
Just
say
bring it
that.
back."
Don't say that awkward thing you're about to say.
Yeah. And I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh, okay." But it's weird though because, like, I feel like, especially right now in, like, real life, like, it's the Twilight. It's the Twilight film. Like, there's
The
no way
Twilight
that
Zone, not the
yeah,
Twilight film. The
yeah,
Twilight
the
film
Twilight
is
Zone.
the that's the vampire movie, not
Yeah,
OC.
Twilight film, yeah. Yeah,
I-
we in the Twilight Zone. There's no way that some of the things that are happening right now in real life because, like, I just look at it, I'm like, "Yo, it is just so much like pro wrestling." Like, there's
Yeah,
no way
but
this is
Snoop Dogg has it figured out. He's at the Olympics. He's got his own cereal. He has his own ice cream. So big shout out to Snoop Dogg for that one.
yes.
I think he figured it out. And much like Snoop Dogg, um, I think you have to go through life being like a tree, and we're really not that different from trees, but you have to be like a tree. A tree doesn't think. A tree doesn't act. A tree doesn't compare itself to others. It just grows, and that's what we have to do now more than ever. We have to continue to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And, yeah, big shouts to Snoop Dogg who completed a quest, the main quest, and now is just doing all the side quests and just
Exactly, he figured it out.
phasing up in life. Hey, so I know a lot of people will ask this question, like, what got you into pro wrestling? And we all know that, like, we all started off as fans. Like,
Mm.
that's the normal thing. But more particular and more specific that I want to know was there a moment, and if there was, what was that moment that, like, made you go, you know what, I have to get into the business?
I think it was like watching. I was watching Kane one time. He was in the ring and he's getting beat up by the Brood. And by that point, like I had already been introduced to wrestling, but I didn't realize that like you have to like. Uh, I didn't realize how TV schedules worked. But that moment though, when I saw Kane getting beat up by the Brood and then he like fought back and overcame them, I just really viscerally remember that feeling in that moment, and that's like very powerful because it's like that was so many years ago, and I could still remember how I felt watching it, and I think I just knew then that this would be my future some way somehow.
As a that I do remember, like, watching Kane and the Brood, like, just interacting and stuff like that. I remember when the Brood just got introduced, and Gangrel was just there with. I remember just seeing this vampire, and I'm like, I'm
Whoa, I
I'm
mean, 'cause
taken.
fast forward, and this is it's the crazy part because I just realized like fast forward not that long ago, I was in the ring standing across from Gangrel,
Mm.
the vampire warrior, and I was putting the boots to him.
I love that actually, and it's weird though because I know for me, I had the same moment where, like, my trainer came to me and he was like, "Hey, I need you to come with me real quick." He's like, "Just keep calm, like, don't get all crazy." Because it's like my seventh time just being in, like, around wrestlers, and he was like, "Yeah, just chill." And so I walked to the back, and there's Sandman, and
Yeah,
Nick is legitimately introducing me. My boy, my trainer Sickend is introducing me to Sandman, and I was like, "Yo, I used to watch this dude in ECW." Like,
yeah, isn't that
I just,
crazy?
yeah, and it got me thinking. It made me realize that, like, you're always one link away from somebody who knows somebody, and I've said it numerous times on the show, but it's so real and it's so crazy to think that this is what we get to do, and these are people that we were watching, like, as kids, and now we're like, "Yo, it's insane to me," and it blows my mind every time I run into someone.
Yeah, and that's like you can measure your success in different ways, but I think you should be able to take any moment like that and take that up as a win, and that you're so many more steps ahead of like where others want to be. And I think we get caught up sometimes chasing. There's always a carrot dangling in front of us in wrestling, and we get caught up chasing that moment. But like this journey that we're on, this destination that we're on now in the present is so beautiful. And it's like, and moments like that play out where, you're fulfilling a childhood destiny.
Yeah. And it's like even for me, like my moment that I was a kid, it was '97. It was Halloween Havoc. Like I was watching Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero for the first time, mask versus title match. And I was just on the edge of my seat. And I remember being a kid just being like, yo, I want whatever this is, like I want to be involved with this. And then it always been around. And then when I finally in like 2020, I was like, I made the jump of like, let me try this out because there's no way that I'm gonna ever go through life just hoping that I can make this happen. And I made a jump, and next thing I know, it was like here we are with this crazy journey that like all of a sudden I'm just like running into everybody and somebody who knows someone, and I'm like, yo, this is it's beautiful. So I get a chance, I guess, because like I'm older too, like almost 40, and I get to pull myself back and just appreciate where I'm at and just to see the people who are grinding super hard and just like cheerlead them on as they're doing their thing, because that's something that I didn't have when I was like trying to figure stuff out. So to be able to be that person for somebody else is always cool.
Yeah, and brother, let me tell you, man, I'm 75 years young, as I like to say, and as I get one step closer to my 80s, I feel younger than ever because of the energy that I surround myself with, and that's the rare kind of energy that you could only really find in a place like pro wrestling. And it's so interesting how like you watch it as a kid, and for I think there's a saying I always hear in wrestling. I think Jesse Ventura said it, maybe, or Luthez. I think Luthez. Anyways, the saying is, in pro wrestling, it's like those who get it, and those who don't, no explanation could ever do. And I think wrestling just has a way of finding people, whether they're just fans, even just casual fans, or diehards, or people that enter the business. Um, it's all these people just kind of understood what it is. It just like connects with them in a certain way, and I think it's like it's pretty wild how that works. It's like literally the universe speaking to itself.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things too about like pro wrestling is that like even when you're in like as a fan or as a worker or just as a podcaster, wherever you're at with it, it's so interesting to see the different flavors and how people can like you'll see like somebody will like this flavor but absolutely hate this flavor, but then you'll find the one person who loves this flavor and then you know appreciates other flavors, but it's just it's interesting to watch, but then like to see the love that I guess what I'm looking at is like some people will hate some things, but then you'll find like the people who like love everything, like
I,
they just enjoy ice cream, I guess
I
is what
don't
we'll
know,
say.
man. That's the thing. It's like at the end of it, like for all these different types of wrestling, all this, and like from my experiences, at the end of it, like it's all the same thing. It really is, and that's why it's like so weird. People get caught up in like, uh, this isn't right, or this isn't wrestling, or this isn't how it's supposed to be done. I think people just on both sides of that fence have to just get back to the root of it and what the core of wrestling is. And when you figure that out, the rest is easy.
The rest is easy. Yeah.
And I should just say this because like I've had such a distinctive like, uh, I've been so lucky throughout my time in wrestling. I've done a lot of cool things that I never thought I would have done. I trained in Arena, Mexico for a few months, and I got to train in Germany at Gunther School. I got to wrestle in China, and as different as all three of those places are, everybody there was still connected through pro wrestling, and the things that got the most reception and reaction were the things most closely connected to pro wrestling that only pro wrestling could bring. The styles were different, the moves were different, but everything at the core was still the same. And people need to realize like it doesn't matter what three letters you put behind it, it's still pro wrestling, even if it isn't your quote unquote flavor of ice cream.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things too, and I had it broken down to me by we'll call him a light mentor of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he broke it down like the way of like what wrestling was supposed to be. And when he told me what it's supposed to look like, it everything else clicked. Everything else made sense. And I was
Yeah.
like, it changed, it altered the way I look at wrestling. And then I was like, whoa, this is insane to me. But I understood it. And then now that's like practicing those aspects of it and trying to turn it up it's so much harder. But when you start to put the reps in and start to see where I can tweak here and tweak there, it just becomes this thing of beauty where you get to paint a whole new masterpiece every single time that you step up on a mat.
Yeah, dude, it's truly, truly amazing.
Yo, let me ask you this question because you've been around for a few years. What's the worst bump you've taken?
The worst bump I've taken, like the one I've gotten the most hurt on.
No, not necessarily. You don't have to like necessarily get hurt. Maybe one like you hit and you're like, "Ooh, that kind of sucked," or like, you know,
I don't.
maybe a bump that you took that was unexpectedly, and you were just like, "Oh yeah, that didn't feel good."
I mean, I've had instances where, I mean, even most recently, where I had I've had my ears. I've gotten hit my ears a couple times now, and I'm starting to think maybe I should start wearing headgear like Rick Steiner or Josh Alexander. Um, I don't know, man. What would you say is the worst one you've taken?
So the one that seems to get the most reaction, the most laughs. I had just started training, and at my school that I had trained at, right, my first school I trained at, we trained outside, and it was February. I was in my second month, and the ring was pretty cold, and I decided to try Akira Tozawa's giant senton from the top rope onto a cold ring, and learned really quickly why we land in the center of the ring and not on the towards the outside.
Yeah. Jesus, I'll tell you this now that springs something to mind. The worst one I was, the worst thing I've been on the receiving end of was a tadpole splash from Hornswoggle, because that motherfucker might be small in his stature, but he comes down on you like a bag of rocks. That's Hornswoggle. That's why we love him.
I was like, I could imagine that might blow.
Yeah,
Because
no.
I feel like when, especially when it's like a good frog splash, like the brunt of the force is usually like, I'm sorry guys, you don't get to know, but we know where the brunt of the force usually lands. And like, as much as I like Hornswoggle and seeing Swoggle work, like he's not landing the same way.
Well, a lot of the weight is concentrated. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have another one too where I was working with a friend of mine and he wanted to hit me with a bookend, and we were in the back. He was talking about hitting a bookend, and my buddy threw me out and he was like, "Yo, hit Red Dog with a bookend because he'll jump for you, and he gets high." And I told him, I was like, "Yo, please just hold on to me because I will jump over you and you won't even know it." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, whatever." Yeah, he lost me midway up, and when I came down, like as I hit my shoulders, my hips also turned. So
Mhm.
like it was like an unexpected twist, and I was like, "Oh, my back, oh my back." So for like 2 days, I was walking around with my back feeling like a little twisted, but it wasn't really his fault. But I did tell him, I was like, I will jump.
I like the distinction between the bookend and not calling it a rock bottom. I feel like most people would have just said a rock bottom.
Yeah.
A
He
bookend.
specifically, he
It
says
was
it, he's like,
specifically the bookend.
yeah, he'll tell you. He's like, I don't hit the rock bottom, I hit the bookend. And so I'm like,
I guess there are slight differences. I think with the bookend, Booker doesn't hook the leg the way the Rock does.
right.
And then other nerds would just call it a uranage.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Yo, let me ask you, seeing that you've been in for a while, I'm just kind of curious, what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn?
Whoa. I'm constantly learning lessons all throughout my time in wrestling, but it's kind of similar to what I was saying is, I wouldn't say it's a hard lesson. No lesson's really hard if you come out of it better. It just makes you stronger. Um, keep your no expectations. Detach yourself from results and in the end. Like detach yourself from that and just be present, be in the moment. Um, the some of the best The best things I've heard is it's not uh, the match, or sorry, don't believe don't believe it until it's happened. Like in wrestling, you'll always hear a lot of, oh, you're gonna do this next month, or you're gonna wrestle this guy next month, um, and then it doesn't end up happening. So don't get caught up in that of what's gonna happen. Just take it day by day. Um, my when I wrestled in high school, and this isn't like a hard lesson I learned, but when I wrestled in high school, my wrestling coach said one of the best pieces of advice I ever heard, and that's ease your mind and your body will follow. And that's a little something for people who are getting into wrestling, you know, when we go through and learning all these new things. You just got to ease your mind and let your body follow, and the rest will lay itself out.
Yeah, that's the thing I have to constantly remind myself to
You just
just
gotta be. You gotta lock in. You gotta just gotta be. You just gotta be in the moment. You gotta be in the now, because there's in this universe, there's only one truth. There's only one reality that exists in the universe, and that's now. You know what I'm saying? The only truth that exists is now, the present. The past is long gone. The future does not exist, and it's most of the time the future that we make in our minds are just full of lies and expectations. And we have to be here, present now. And think about this: if the universe is now, that means, you know, the universe is now and the universe is infinite. That means now is infinite. So, like, there's so many different ways we can go about things. We don't have to stay stuck in the same patterns. We don't have to keep doing the same things. We can break habits. We can go down a street that we haven't gone down before. We can walk into a new building. We can try something different, because that keeps our lives infinite.
I love that. I love that. And it's funny for me. Um, so I learned this lesson two different ways, right? It's ultimately the same lesson. Uh, so I'm a massive Kung Fu Panda fan.
All
Um,
right.
Master Oogway, right, in the first movie was talking to Poe, and Poe was talking about, about being the Dragon Warrior, and Oogway says, "The past is history, the future is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why it's
Yes.
called the present." And it's such a beautiful saying, and it's not something, and I think about it all the time now. But it stuck with me. It stuck with me, and it made me realize, like, sometimes, like, I have to pull myself out of where I'm at and just relax. And so, to credit your point, like, that's such an important thing. And then every once in a while, I'll forget that that's a thing that I know and I need to keep practicing. And I read Bruce Lee's book. I don't know if you've seen with Shannon Lee. It's interpreting her father's work,
Ah,
um, and it's called "Be Like Water."
yes.
And in the book, he talks about the scene that he did in Enter the Dragon, where he told his student to, like, throw a roundhouse kick. And so the kid throws this beautiful kick, and he's like, "What are you doing? Is this a show?" He's like, "No, hit me." So the kid throws another kick, like, hard, like, angrily. He's like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like, "Just throw a kick at me." And so they start battling. And then finally, after the battle, he stops him. He's like, "Yo, how did that feel?" And as the kid goes to think, he smacks him, and he's like, "No, how did it feel? Don't think, just tell me." And it's such a great moment to think about. Just stay present. Just enjoy
Absolutely.
where you are in life.
Not to get too caught up in the future, but I'm curious. In do they not do they leave a lot of unanswered questions in Kung Fu Panda 3? Is that why we need a fourth one?
No, and the fourth one is cool because it's in a different. They try to set it up differently. Not that I'll spoil it for you guys, but you can go watch it on NBC Peacock because it's there. And if you haven't, you should have. But there's a new lesson that's being taught, and it's kind of a cool transition if you
So
want to use it.
I guess you could do a lot of you could just keep doing the Kung Fu Pandas then, because he keeps learning new lessons
Yeah.
and we never stop learning.
Mm-mm.
So
Much like in
it
wrestling.
is it like kind of like a Toy Story 4 situation where like they have to like kind of branch it out now a little bit because of how the third one ended?
Yeah, so in this one, sorry if you guys don't want to listen to this, whatever. You can. There's
It's
not a
your
timestamp.
podcast. They should be interested.
Yeah, there's
They
not a
should like what you
timestamp, so you
like.
can't skip.
If
But
you're
no.
if you're a Red Dog fan, you're a fan of yourself.
But in this one, like he has to change over from being a dragon warrior because now at this point, like there's a new dragon warrior that needs to emerge, and
Mm,
he needs to take the next step into becoming a mentor to everybody else.
I
And
see.
so he's on the journey of trying to one battle the chameleon, who is like snatching up uh, everybody's kung fu, and then
Yeah.
two try to teach someone new a new lesson. And so you get introduced to a new character, and then so he's passing on the lessons that he knows to become a better mentor.
Okay. I see. I see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a great story, and I liked it. And I was like, this is a fun journey that you get to watch Poe go on to. And then at the end, Tenacious D is singing "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time" under credits,
Uh,
so it's really funny.
that makes sense now. I was at a karaoke a couple weeks ago, and someone was like, "Oh, do you guys like Jack Black?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna do like a Tenacious D song or something." He goes, and then they start playing "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time," and he
Yeah.
sings "Hit Me, Baby," and I was like, "What does it have to do with Jack Black?" But I guess it was because he did the cover of it.
Yep, he did the
Mm.
cover, which like he did in the first one. He did the cover for Kung Fu Fighting.
I see. Okay. I
So
wonder what the song is going to be for Shrek. What is it? Shrek 4?
yeah, no, Shrek the fifth, right?
Is it the 5th? No,
Yeah,
I
because
think
they
it's the
have
4th.
no, because they had Shrek goes fourth, and yeah,
Wait, did I not see Shrek the 4th?
it had wasn't that the one where he had the babies, right?
Because the first one is All Star,
Yeah,
and then the second one is I thought love was only, and then they got Smash Mouth to do the cover for that, which is a cover of a cover.
yeah.
So now what was the song for Shrek 3?
I forgot what Shrek the third was, but the third Shrek. But I know, yeah, there's a Shrek 4. Yeah, Shrek goes fourth.
Shrek the third is where Donkey turns into like a horse and Shrek turns into like a handsome Shrek.
Yeah, and then they're trying to get rid of Prince Charming, and then the fourth one, I feel like it's not the one where no, because it's the thing was the third one where she told him that she was pregnant, and then in the fourth one you have the kids. Pretty sure that's what it was. Crazy enough.
What is it? I don't know if they had a theme song.
I don't remember.
I know
I'll
they
go
had
back
the
and watch it.
Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin.
That was in the third one, right?
Yeah, that's the third one.
Yeah.
So wait, you're telling me there's a Shrek 4?
Yes, I thought it was Shrek goes fourth or something like that.
Oh yeah, and came out Forever After, of course. Oh.
Yeah.
And he's like a dad.
Yep.
I'm like, I see the villain of it. It looks kind of familiar, but I might have to rewatch it. It's
You have
on
to rewatch
Peacock.
it.
Did I miss out on Shrek 4? Interesting.
But yo, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop to my favorite part of the 3 Count podcast, and that is the 3 Count podcast 10 count questions. And this is how it works, Mr. G. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you, and whatever your answer is, that is your answer.
I can't think. I just got to be in it. Okay.
Yep. That's fine. be present.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put on the imagine timer for added pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder one.
Gene Wilder. Apple or Android?
Android every day.
Favorite cartoon?
Simpsons.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Favorite TV show?
Breaking Bad.
Let's go. Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Favorite podcast?
3 Count podcast.
That's right. Number one. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
You've had Erica Lee on before, right?
I have had Erica Lee
and she's got to come back on.
Yes, 100%. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show: favorite curse word?
Fuck.
It's got to be. Good F-bomb is all everybody needs.
Yeah.
Yo, so what I need though from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
I'm at Jgeorge the movie on X, on jgeorge.mp4 on Instagram, and if you just search, I guess, Jgeorge. I still, one day, my goal in wrestling is to one day be able to, for people to search Jgeorge on YouTube or Google and not have the automatic, like, oh, did you mean George? Because that happens a lot.
Yeah, see, it's Google, get us together. Get it together.
Go.
Alphabet company, get us together. All right. Well, he gave you all of his handles. He told you where you can find him, and even told you can even Google him, and you might have to correct Google for trying to correct you. So, like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast, which is now entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there, Jgeorge himself. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You're following us on YouTube. You're subscribed to our channel. You're checking us out on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music. You're even checking us out on that app with the dumb jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is, right? You're checking out all of our merch on foryourwear.com or on prowrestlingtees.com. You're telling your mom about us. You're telling your dad about us, your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your dogs, your cats, your best friends, and your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, or really you're just waiting for this episode to end, waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to.
Let's go.
Kawaii. Bam. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is just kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, love y'all.